Então, igual eu falei aqui, isso aqui é um pergunta e resposta da comunidade, tá ligado? Tem todo mês. E marcha. Aqui no começo ele sempre faz um compiladinho aí do que vai ter no vídeo, tá ligado?
More to come.
Yes.
Ai, ai.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge and Aeternum, where we talk about all things New World. Today I'm here with Dave and Katie, and we're going to do our monthly community Q&A. This is where once a month we take questions from all of our social media networks.
Basicamente ele tá explicando que eles pegam as perguntas de, tipo, todas as redes sociais, tanto do YouTube, do Discord, Twitter.
Everywhere we can think of.
E geralmente as perguntas interessantes, tá ligado? Esse aqui e os devblog é os melhores de assistir.
Will you tune future raid content so that it is more likely to be able to be completed by random groups?
O cara perguntou se eles pretendem facilitar no futuro a raid do minhocão.
Difficult. That's what we wanted, and I think also want to say thank you for the PTR feedback. I think it helped us tune this. We got a lot of value out of that, and it is balanced to be hard. That's a goal we had. We've achieved that. I think what we're counting on is that in the future, gear score will increase, and that as players get more powerful, that will allow a larger segment of the players to play it. So we want it to be sort of challenging elite content at first, and then open up to more players over time.
Yeah, and something pretty cool, like that we got a metric when we had the first dub on I forget which world it was on, but we got our first win. It had been attempted over 14,000 times.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. And since then, we've had a pretty good roll of people.
So was it 1 for 14,000?
Yeah, it was a crazy ratio. But since then...
Mano, olha a métrica que eles tinham. A cada 17, 14 mil, ela falou ali, um grupo tava conseguindo concluir, tá ligado? E aí o cara falou que não, eles não pretendem facilitar, porém, no futuro, como vai ter o aumento de gear score, tá ligado? Não vai ser mais o máximo 625, na verdade. Então ele falou que é capaz que no futuro fique mais fácil, tá ligado? Mas eles não vão mexer em nada pra facilitar em si, tá ligado?
Something that we are talking about, but no plans to share that with the community.
What do you think about adding suggested open...
Aí o cara perguntou se o bagulho de troca de nome. Falou que, tipo, já estão olhando pra isso, mas não tem data, não podem falar muita coisa sobre mudança de nick. Isso que é interessante, mano. Ter área PVP, área de carregamento.
We're not ready to go into any specifics on how time frames we're thinking about those, but at a high level, like I think both of them, the open world PvP is just, it's fun, it's cool, and if we can find more ways to make that engaging for players and to give them cool things to do, I think it'll pay off.
Yeah, and season 3 is going to bring...
I was going to say the same thing.
It's going to bring a new way that people are going to be able to push influence, so that's going to hopefully bring a lot of open world PvP moments, because we're going to try to get as many folks into certain areas at the same time as possible. So stay tuned for more information on that as we start talking about season 3 and the expansion.
Yeah, it's super cool, but we are going to push, like in the long term, we have plans to push well past that.
Yeah, that's just the first step.
Basicamente a pergunta era se, tipo, vai ter mais coisa PVP? Aí ela falou, mano, no momento estamos trazendo pra Season 3 o rework do sistema de influência. Mano, faz meses já que eles estão falando que tá muito massa, então vamos botar fé. E faz tempo que eles estão mexendo nisso mesmo. E daí ele falou que sim, eles vão colocar mais coisas pra frente, já estão olhando pra isso, mas eles vão poder comentar a partir da Season 3 algumas coisas e tal. Então tem que esperar, né? Vamos ficar contente com o rework da influência.
I saw a Reddit thread last night about like, oh my god, pushes take too long. And this change not only is going to make it way more fun, it's also going to make it way more compact, which I think players are going to love.
Definitely. I saw that one too. It directly addresses that. Someday we might be able to talk on Reddit. Someday.
We're talking to Reddit right now.
What's up, guys?
Are you aware of the time it takes to accumulate Azoth salt in the game? It feels rather lengthy. Are there plans to increase the Azoth salt awarded from activities? Thank you.
Well, first, you're welcome for, I think, we made a great change on the PvP track. I think
a trilha tá bem melhor agora, tá ligado? Apesar de não ganhar muito Sal de Azoth, tá legal, mano.
The PvP reward track, and I think players want to spend more. And we haven't sort of adjusted the salt our rates to account for that. So it's something we're looking at. I think players who played for a while, Katie, you were saying you've accumulated,
Like a cap.
for a long time. I did too. Like there just wasn't enough to spend on. So we were thinking salt was too abundant. But now that there's a lot of good things, we are seeing this more, and it's something we're looking at.
Any plans for fresh
Basicamente eles falaram que talvez melhore no futuro, tá ligado? O Sal de Azoth, o ganho dele, mas eles já mexeram, né? Eles já meio que fizeram rework na trilha e realmente tá bom, mano. Achei meio ruim até o cara reclamar, mas ele reclamou só no sistema de como ganhar, né? De, tipo, tá ganhando pouco. Mas eles falaram que estão de olho nisso.
servers this year? They really helped boost the player population last year.
Yeah, they
Perguntaram se
definitely
vai
did.
ter flash server de
We
novo.
have no plans at this point. That doesn't mean that we definitely won't. It just means that at this point, it's not something that's on our radar for 2023.
And I think last year they had that impact because we made so many corrections and changes to the game that I think it warranted it. Now we've been doing a lot of changes and a lot of tuning, but I don't think that they've been as substantial, especially in the economy.
Yeah, and part of that is we want to make the fresh start experience to feel brand new, like what you're saying. And a good chunk of that is finishing the revamp of the main story quest line. And that will be throughout this year. So if we were going to talk about fresh start servers, most likely they would be next year.
Can you explain your point of view on the
Eles basicamente falaram que esse ano não tem planejamento de trazer flash server, mas não descarta a possibilidade, mas é bagulho mais pro ano que vem, tá ligado? Então, possivelmente mais flash server ano que vem, mano.
to add seasonal content instead of real definitive?
Mano, isso aqui é um bagulho que eu já tinha visto que é interessante, mano. Eles perguntam por que eles seguem esse lado de season, em vez de, tipo, só ir adicionando conteúdo, tá ligado?
Content, because it is not the temporary quests that will attract new players, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think, I consider seasonal content real definitive content. I think it's engaging for the players, and it gives... The best thing about seasonal content is the lapsed player can come back and have some engaging content, something to participate in, and it gives you that reason to come back.
Isso é true, mano. A season é massa, tá ligado? Dá uma vontade de jogar, passe novo e tal.
Or to keep seasonal content around longer. So if you remember, like season 1, that whole story didn't go away. We actually kept part of it for new players who would come in after the fact, and we're looking at more ways to do that more and more into the future. So I guess my view is I think it's really cool. I personally, as a player, like and appreciate it because it makes the game...
E ainda rolou meio que uma crítica, porque, tipo, tem missão que é só da season, tá ligado? Aquelas que você vai falar com o NPC, corre, tem filminho. Então, pra quem, tipo, não jogou a season, basicamente não fez essas missões, tá ligado? Aí o cara criticou porque conteúdo jogava fora. Porque, tipo, se você começa a jogar na Season 3, 2, você nunca fez, por exemplo, a da 1, entendeu? Se você não jogou Season 1, não tem como você ter feito essas missões. E não tem mais como fazer. Porque a história já ficou, tá ligado? Aí é um ponto bom na pergunta mesmo.
And my goals change every quarter or so I think it's good.
Well, we also have more than just content that's related to seasons too. Like we have real definitive content. Like for instance, in season 2, we had the Sandworm Elite Trial come out, and that was a pretty big hit with players. In addition to the seasonal content, which keeps things kind of fresh and new. And as Scott said, we keep part of those quest lines so that people can still get the rewards. They can still get the band together for the Silver Crows. So I understand where this person's coming from, but I think that we have a pretty good mixture, and we're still working on what that fuel mixture looks like, but I think we have a good mixture.
Yeah, and in some cases it even amplifies. Like when the expansion comes out, the reward track is going to be it's going to amplify everything you do, which I think is, there's a good complement there.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail. Like I love the seasonal content too. I think it's thematic. It sort of provides fun activities, but I think finding a way to get continued value out of that is something we're looking into. And I think something we'll invest in more.
Well, and I didn't even think of this when I first answered, is I love the idea of an overarching story on top of the main story that continues and keeps pushing forward. I think that is also really fun.
Yeah, there's the whole reason you're on Aeternum, and then there's your day-to-day activities in getting the Silver Crows together and helping out other folks in Aeternum.
A barbershop.
Basicamente falou que, tipo, eles vão manter o bagulho de season, que é isso mesmo, porque é bom mesmo, o sistema de season é da hora. Mas eles vão começar a investir mais no bagulho de conteúdo pra sempre, tá ligado? Talvez Mano, eu acho que vai começar a rolar 2 histórias, tá ligado? A história da Season, que é... que sempre com a mulherzinha lá, ela falou Silver Crawl ali, coisa errada. Eu acho que também depois que até o final do ano eles terminarem de arrumar o rework da história do level 0 a 60, eu acho que eles vão continuar toda a season, vão adicionar tipo assim, uma continuação talvez em dungeon, sei lá, tá ligado? Vai ter tipo umas histórias pra quem começar a jogar, por exemplo, daqui 2 anos, ter esse conteúdo, tá ligado? E não perder os bagulhos da season. Um bagulho que pro futuro eles vão começar a melhorar.
On your plans, can we expect it to be coming next year?
It is in our plans. It's something we talk about a lot. So right now, we're talking about the Q&A from season 2. Our next communication, like that's kind of forward thinking, is going to be more about the expansion. And then after that, at some point, we'll do a roadmap that goes into a lot more specifics next year. So with that in mind, we are thinking about Barbershop, but we're really not ready to talk about it yet.
More to come.
Yes.
It's pretty embarrassing. All right, let's move on.
O cara basicamente perguntou quando que vem o sistema que você pode arrumar teu boneco, tá ligado? Meteu o corte americano e tal. Eles falaram que talvez no próximo vídeo, falando sobre a expansão, eles comentem. Então eu acho que Season 3 já vai ter esse sistema, tá ligado? Só não quiseram falar agora porque é conteúdo do outro vídeo.
Can we expect any update to address team imbalances in Outpost Rush and solo arenas in the near future?
So I think, we've seen a lot of OPR matches, especially with Crossworld happening, which has been great just to see the amount of matches dramatically increase and queue times come down. I think that's been great. What we have seen with this also, though, now is a little more polarity in the results. There have been some matches where there are stomps. We're definitely seeing, in terms of heat maps, the spawn camping, in terms of score distribution, some lopsided matches. So we know it's an issue. We are starting to look at it. With that said, matchmaking is a huge and complex problem, and it will take us a while to sort of get a solution that we're happy with. But we are aware of it, we're looking into it, and we're beginning to work on it.
But I mean, the data shows that there's a lot more parity than we expected. It's just what happens is you get stomped, and then you remember that a lot more than you remember all the, semi-close matches.
Yeah, I think especially, we'll talk more about this in Balance of Power. The weapon parity, I think, is very strong. But the match parity, there's some good matches, and there are definitely some outliers.
Have you ever thought about reworking the
O cara perguntou, mano, vocês não vão fazer nada pra balancear o OPR, Arena, pá? Ele falou que agora, com o Crossword, eles estão conseguindo ler mais resultado, tá ligado? Então no futuro, provavelmente, eles adicionem, tipo, como eu posso dizer, tipo um matchmaking, um sistema de elo, igual do LoL, tá ligado? Eles vão conseguir, tipo, gerenciar melhor o que tá rolando. Eles já viram quando que tem muito spawn, quando que uma equipe perde de surra, quando que é um OPR balanceado. Porque agora tá dando bem mais resultado com o Crossword. Então provavelmente no futuro, acho que não na Season 3 ainda, talvez a 4 ou só ano que vem, eles comecem a pensar num modo mais balanceado. Acho que não necessariamente um elo, mas mais balanceado, sei lá. Vamos fazer alguma coisa que ajude.
debuff bar. In its current state, it easily gets filled up and is generally hard to read. For example, multiple fortify effects from different
Isso é God, né? Se eles fizessem o menu de buff ali, a interface.
Cooldown should show up on the weapon icon and not in the buff bar, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is something that we are looking at. I know that also, if you have a lot of con and your HP is really high, sometimes that doesn't show up on your bar. And so it looks like you're not taking damage even when you are. So this is something that we're actively looking at. I don't have an ETA on when things are going to change because that's a pretty complex UX system. But it is something that we're looking at, so stay tuned.
Will there be the addition of the other siege?
Basicamente falou que eles estão de olho nisso, tá ligado? Da interface nova e tal. Basicamente falou que sabe do problema, já estão de zóio, mas não tem previsão. Mas que é massa, mano.
No definitive plans. I think we made some changes to the balance of siege weapons in season 2. I think we're going to continue to look at sort of the impact they're having, and I think that's a good way to shake up the mode a little bit. So, no definitive plans yet, but definitely something we're considering.
Yeah.
O cara perguntou sobre as armas de cerco, que se no PR podia melhorar mais, porque deveria ter como trocar, não sei lá o quê. O cara falou que estão analisando também. Tipo, mano, essas coisas que eles falam que eles estão analisando, eles nem começaram a mexer ainda. Tá no papel ainda, tá
And
ligado?
that is it. Those are all the questions I have here.
Cool.
Cool. Well, thanks for all the questions. Keep them coming.
É, da hora, ele falou, teve bastante
There's
coisa
no
interessante
community
nesse vídeo aqui,
question
mano.
on, the Q&A, so otherwise I'll just say if you like what you saw, subscribe, like,
Geralmente tem um bônus aqui, rapaziada.
See you in the truck.
and see you in Aeternum.
Geralmente tem algum spoiler, tá
There
ligado?
are some new combos that experts, in quotations, if you know what I mean, are pulling off here with the blunderbuss. Those are things we did not anticipate as a part of the design, and it would not surprise me when you load up the monthly patch if those combos are no longer possible.
Esse cara que falou aqui, ele... Bagulho de combate geralmente é tudo com ele, tá ligado? E a mulher geralmente é mais qualidade de vida do jogo, tipo interfaces, bagulho assim. E o maluco do meio é o diretor, então ele é meio que de tudo. Mas ele quis dizer aqui, mano, é que, pra quem tá ligado, a New World League, que é tipo o mundial de New World que tá tendo, lá foi proibido o martelo e Bacamarte, porque os caras tá. É tipo, é o bagulho mais roubado atualmente, tá ligado? Tá, os caras cancelam a animação, dão tipo um baita dano, sinto e deleto. Daí eles falaram aqui que. Ah, o cara confirmou que no patch mensal, né, que sempre tem, vai rolar um nerf. Finalmente, né, mano?
Monthly patch if those
Se bem que aqui no Brasil eu não vejo muita gente abusando disso aqui. Ainda bem, mano. Mas é isso, rapaziada. O videozinho aí, tá?